also making fun of Ruby. I just cut that part out of the equation here because we are talking about JavaScript. So a nice presentation. He's actually doing it very well, and so it's very funny to see this weird stuff. It's not a big problem on the daily work with the JavaScript, but it's a weird. So you add two arrays and then you get an empty string.
What's for?
What is that? And then So, but anyway, it's easy to make fun of weird parts of programming languages. So, and JavaScript is absolutely one of the languages that are on the line when you want to make fun of programming languages. There was a book, I think it was by Crawford. I added a link on the webpage to a talk by him. But he made a book called JavaScript: The Better Parts, or The Good Parts. I think it's the speak. That's the better part. So, and I think most languages have weird parts. So and JavaScript is not an exception to that. Thinking about the 10 days, it's okay. But it's also, that's very subjective, but it's a very, very, very nice language, my opinion. Personally, I love being in JavaScript land. And sometimes when I've been in JavaScript land for some time and I have to go back to C#, I think, fuck, because it's so nice to be in JavaScript. So it also have some nice parts, very nice parts. So I don't know if you get that, because you have to get through, frustration, all the part, until you get to the other side and think, wow, it's actually a very nice language. But let's see if we can get there. There's nothing much to say about the basics because you know that already. So we have strings. They can have single quotes or double quotes. That's doesn't matter. Of course, you need to be the same in both ends of the string, but otherwise it's the same. So single quotes is not a character like in C# and other programming languages because that's not possible. Numbers, blah blah blah. Booleans, blah blah blah. You know that. Arrays, pretty much blah blah blah. Of course, you can do a lot of stuff with arrays, but and objects, that's where it starts to get. It's actually not weird. It's objects is a list of key. It's a key value pair. So you have keys and values, and that's pretty much the same when you have a C#. You're not thinking about them in that terms, but it's actually the case that you can see an object in C# or in Java as a key value pair. So you have the name of the attribute and the value. So in JavaScript, it's just pretty much what it is. It's just a map.
This is what JSON doing anyway. Because it's Java things.
Yeah, so JSON is a language that is made by Crawford, and it's taking the part of JavaScript that can be used to describe an object. So without the function and stuff like that. So this is pretty much look like JSON. It's not, because if it should be JSON, it should be double quotes. But this is an object in JavaScript. So not much to say about that. Yes, variables. It's a good idea to declare your variables when you use them. You don't have to because it's a dynamic language, so you can just say x equal 5 and then not have talked about x before, no problem. JavaScript will not complain. But the problem is if you don't declare your variables, the variables will be added to the global space. And you have the global scope of your application. So eventually you can run into problems because if you don't declare the variables and you have an x in one file and x in another file, they will just override each other. So don't do that. Use the var keyword to say like this. So this will be allocated on the global scope, and the global scope in the browser is the browser window, and so everything will just be added to that. So that means you can have conflict and you can have very, 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 very annoying mistakes that can be very difficult to debug if you. But we will follow that, so it's not a big deal. All the operators in JavaScript is pretty much the same as you know it, except of this equal, not equal. Do you know what that is?
This is citron, the type that's equal is like, it must be or something.
Yeah, so what's the difference?
The triple equal.
So what's the difference between equal, and equal? Yeah? Yeah. Whatever.
3 times equal this, it must be this data type.
Data type, yeah. So here you can have 5 equal 5, and that will be true.
Yeah.
But it will not be true over here. Because, but JavaScript tries to do this. Is there any way I can cast this into something that can be compared? Yeah, I can just cast this into a string, and then it will be equal. But here you cannot do that because the third equal means that the type should also be equal. So it should be of the same type and the same value. So and that's the same with the not equal. That means that should be the same type when you compare it. So that's pretty much the only thing you have to do. And you never use this one. Never use that one. Because why? It's bad practice to compare integers or numbers and strings, and JavaScript is very good. We will do a very hard work in trying to actually make these two equal. So don't do that. Always use this one. That's a good habit. Otherwise you will run into a lot of problems. So this will be, and if you are using some of the tools, so you don't have a compiler in JavaScript, so sometimes what you're using is something called a linter. Have you heard about that? So you have linting. Linting is like the compiler, something that statically check the language for something that it does, if you have forgot something, a semicolon or blah blah blah. So just check the language because you don't have the compiler. So otherwise you only get the runtime error. So you can use a linter to get some hints. So it's like a hint of that. And one of the stuff that most hinter will do is actually say that you have, they will warn you about using this kind of equal, and force you to do that. So just let it be a habit. If you want to compare this, then do the casting before the comparison, and then you can use this one instead. So it makes it more easy. It will hunt you down eventually if you don't, because you get mistakes that you haven't thought about. Because JavaScript can actually do a lot of fancy casting. It will try very hard to cast into something so we can evaluate this one. Objects. So you can create an object like this. You can say new object. I don't think anybody do that at all in JavaScript. So this is a new object. So you create an object, doesn't have any attribute. It doesn't make sense in C#. Why would you do an object with no attributes? But in JavaScript it makes a lot of sense because you can just add attributes along the way because it's dynamic language. So that's very common to start with an empty object and then add the. So if you start with this one here, say x equal an object, and then you say x name equal John. Then that means that that now the object have an attribute called name that has the value John. That's how you assign a new property to your object. So it's so easy. You can also, of course, create them, and you can list them, and you can do whatever you like. Just to be. So this is the same syntax. You can also do this. These two are equal. So you can either do the dot name here, or you can like it's a map where you can say this is the key and this is the value. So you can access the attributes or the properties of an object either by this or by that. And this is smart because then you can do it dynamically. You can have a string. You can put a string, so you can actually have var whatever y equal name. and then you can do this. So dynamically, you can change that on the fly because it can be a variable. So it's very flexible. So JavaScript is very flexible. That's also a part that will hunt you down. So you have to be very strict. So object construction. So there's no class, at least not in the ES5. I will talk about classes in a moment, but there's no classes. So everything is function. So if you want to have something that's similar to a class in C#, what you do is you make a function, you give it a name, the function takes some attributes, and then this is you don't have to create the attributes. This is just creating an attribute and assign a value to it at the same time. So now this one will have a name and an attribute and an age attribute. So you don't have to define it before using it. And then you can say, give me a new person with the Peter and 21, and then you get an object. So the function will create an object. So it's pretty much the same, but it's not the same at all. But you can stay a long way on your object-oriented, class-based way, but eventually you will have problems not understanding the true nature of JavaScript, the function part. I think we should take a break now.